Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I am Kev and this week we are talking about modern times. This movie came out in 1936. It is a Charlie Chaplin film starring Charlie Chaplin and Paulette Goddard. A short snippet from IMDb is the Tramp, which is his general character, I guess you could call it that, struggles to live in modern industrial society with the help of a young homeless woman. This one kind of follows most of Charlie Chaplin's films. It is a slapstick comedy. This one follows more of the industrial, I don't want to say revolution, but the industrial complex that was going on, industrialization, in the 1920s, 30s, along with the Great Depression and large amounts of unemployment and things like that as well. So it starts with Charlie Chaplin working at a factory. Because of all the repetitive work, he ends up having a nervous breakdown and gets hospitalized. Soon after that, he gets his first time of being thrown in jail for being mistaken for the leader of a communist party, communist group. And it's just constant slapstick things. When he's at the factory, he gets tested. He gets used as a test dummy for a new automatic personnel feeding machine that goes awry. It's supposed to keep workers from having to expel energy to eat, and make factory workers more productive when they're on the factory line. And it goes awry and almost kills him, or what it seems like almost kills him. Then, like I said, he goes pretty much insane as he's trying to, he has a mental breakdown and he gets taken to a hospital. And then when he gets released, he's just trying to just do his own thing and ends up getting arrested for being the leader of a communist demonstration. While he's in jail, he accidentally ingests, because he kind of eats it and snorts it at the same time, cocaine, which also ends up causing him to go a little crazy. And it ends up, at the same time, right after that happens, a few inmates try to break out, and he stops them by himself, and helps the police. He ends up getting a pardon for this, but he's kind of grown to like jail. So as soon as he gets out, he tries to go back to jail by going to a cafeteria and buying a bunch of food, or eating a bunch of food and then not paying. He does a bunch of dumb things to try to go back, basically to go back to jail on purpose. At the same time, he encounters a girl who you see a couple times in this movie as well, who's she starts out as just being the daughter of a unemployed man who's trying to help feed her little siblings, her little sisters, and her dad ends up being killed, so she becomes an orphan, and Child Services comes to take her and her little sisters away. She escapes. So eventually her and Charlie Chaplin's character, the Tramp, cross paths. And he protects her. He wants to go back to jail. So when she steals a loaf of bread for food, he says that it's him. He ends up going to jail for her. She ends up going to jail anyway. They end up seeing each other in the police paddy wagon. But when it crashes, they end up escaping together. At that point, he gets a job as a night watchman in a department store. They use that to get food and to use it as a place to sleep, so that they're not homeless anymore. So she sleeps in one of the beds at the department store. They eat some of the food at the department store. While they're there, the place gets robbed by one of his former factory workers from the beginning of the movie, and he ends up getting arrested because he falls asleep on a desk of clothes and then wakes up when the department store opens. He gets arrested. He gets out a couple days later, and the orphan girl Ellen is waiting for him. She takes him to live in a rundown shack. They live together for a little while, and before he finds out that a factory is reopening, he goes to get a job. And this is all just, there's just ridiculous slapstick. When they're living in this little house, he keeps running into things and breaking things and hitting his head on things. And it's just constant slapstick comedy. He goes to work at a factory again. Eventually he gets out of that job. He gets arrested again. Then he goes to work at a cafe with Ellen, the orphan girl, who has got a job there, and becomes a singing waiter. Before the police come to find her, and then they run off together one last time, and that's where the movie ends. You see them walking off into down the street into the sun, the sunrise, into the dawn. And that's where it ends. You kind of just see them walking off, kind of hopeful for the future. So he actually does sing. As I said, he becomes a singing waiter. He actually does sing. This is the first time that he's ever talked in ever talked in a movie, in one of his movies. It's gibberish. He doesn't say any actual words. He just kind of mimes it, and that's kind of the joke. The joke is that he forgets the words. He can't understand he doesn't remember the words, so he mimes it and just says gibberish, and everybody loves it. This movie was meant to be, and it was originally written to be, his first talkie. This is kind of late to be a silent film. 1936, you can remember 1930... When did The Wizard of Oz come out? 1939 is when The Wizard of Oz came out. So you got to remember, this is kind of late to be a silent film. But Charlie Chaplin was originally writing this to be his first film. He had dialogue for it. But considering that the Tramp, the character of the Tramp, had never talked in a film, he didn't think it was a good idea. He thought it would take away from that character. So he decided to go away from that, and went with the silent film format instead. And the only time he does talk is, like I said, the gibberish singing in his waiter scene. So there is that, which is interesting. So yeah, that's the first time he ever talks in one of these movies, which is interesting. A couple other fun facts I saw on this was there is a scene where he is roller skating in the department store. He's roller skating blindfolded, supposedly next to a still under construction balcony where it looks like he could fall off at any time. It was all filmed with a piece of glass that had been painted and then moved in front of the camera to make it look like he was in danger, but he never was. He was just roller skating on the floor, which is really interesting. He was supposed to be 4 floors above, above the ground to where he could fall off at any time, but that wasn't actually true, which is kind of cool. Shows you how they did like technology back then, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. So this was actually, it was one of the first 25 films to ever be inducted to the Library of Congress. It's considered one of the greatest films of all time. It still gets high praise from a lot of places. So yeah, this was it's a very short film. What is it? An hour and 40 minutes? Hour and 27 minutes. It's an hour and 27 minutes long. So it moves by really quick. Like I said, it's a lot of slapstick comedy. So if you enjoy that, there is some talking in it, so it kind of goes by quick. It's not a lot of talking, but there is some talking in it. You just don't hear the Tramp really talking. You don't hear the main characters talking. You do hear a couple of people talk at random times, but not a lot. So it was fun. I recommend it for anyone. Like I said, it's one of the top ranked films of all time. So something to watch. And yeah, I think it's something that anybody should take a look at. Something quick. I found it for free, so yeah, modern times. Anyway, I think that is it for this week, guys. A shorter one. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we are going away from the AFI list. Nikki's going to join us for a special episode, one of my favorite movies of all time. We're going to watch Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park. So, hope you will join us for that. But until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will talk to you guys next week.